if you use the human regenerator to recharge your mitochondria, you have ozone IV to kill off any viruses and support your all of the things you get from the city or toxicities and things. Then the new one that I am pairing with that is actually blood filtering. And
you mean like plasmapheresis?
Yeah. So basically, they take your blood out, they separate off the plasma, they filter it. You see what it's collected, i.e. microplastics and things, and they put it back in. So I've been having that in Austria. And I think with the ozone, with the filtering and the human regenerator, I think you've pretty much got charging and detoxification all wrapped up into 3 modalities. And this is my superhuman stack right now.
Anything else in the fitness or the exercise category that you've come across lately?
Well, I like the AeroFit still, and I'm not sure if we discussed this before.
Oh, the breath device. Yeah, tell people about that one.
Yeah, so it's a device you put in your mouth, and instead of nasal breathing, obviously it's mouth breathing, but for a few minutes a day, it's not a problem. It's a lung strength and capacity device. So it gives you different challenges on your phone. Breathe out for like 10 seconds and you follow the graph, and then breathe in and then hold and then breathe out. And it gives you all these different exercises. You can see how you progress in terms of lung strength and capacity over a period of time. It's actually one of my favorite devices because I think breath work for me is one of those things I really have to push myself to do. Cold showers or ice baths, it doesn't bother me too much. But when, for some reason, something to do with breathing on a daily basis, a breathwork session is challenging for me to motivate myself. But when I have the device and it's on my coffee table where I sit in the morning and read, I pick it up and I do it. And so it's actually really interesting to see your lung strength and capacity increase over a period of time. It's great for obviously for sports. I found that when I started using it, that my headaches were significantly better. My snoring before I had the laser therapy done reduced significantly, and I track my snoring nightly. As well as when I'm swimming in the sea, for instance, I find I can hold my breath significantly longer than I used to be able to. So it's almost like having a new body when it comes to breathing, and you can see it in the data.
Yeah. I actually met them at the summit last year, and I have a device. It's up on my bedstand. And I do most of my breath work with my sons. And by the way, for those of you wondering if breath work ever gets any easier, those first 2 minutes, it's kind of like a hard workout. Like it never does. You just got to get through the first 2 minutes though, and then your body kind of falls into the routine. But still, for me, after years of breath work, like the first couple minutes, like, here we go. Got to get the lungs warmed up. But that's totally normal. And so, yeah, I love that AeroFit device. Now, you mentioned, I believe, the vagal nerve implications of something like breath work. Have you messed around with any of these vagal nerve stimulators? Like there's one called and this is top of mind because one of my friends got a migraine headache and she had to come over last night and sleep at our house. And so this morning I gave her this thing called a gamma core, which you hold up against the vagal nerve on the right side of the neck for 2 minutes, then the left side of the neck for 2 minutes, and it delivers this mild electrical sensation that helps to calm a lot of the cranial nerves. There's several other devices that are now marketed and available for personal use as vagal nerve stimulators. But have you ever messed around with any of those, Tim?
I've played around with a few in the past, not this gamma core one, which I will actually check out because I get a lot of people talking about migraines, and it's something that my family's had pretty much their whole lives. So I'm going to explore that one. But there's various different ones that pop up and around. I'm trying to remember the brand.
Pulsetto is another one. Pulsetto spelled 2 T's. That's a little more affordable than the gamma core, and it ties to an app on your phone. You can set for anxiety, for stress, etc. A session lasts like 10 minutes. And that one's nice because it's hands-free. It just hangs around your neck, and you apply a little bit of electrogel to either side of the neck. And that one seems to work pretty well. It's not quite as powerful as the gamma core, nor do I think is it like FDA cleared for headaches like the gamma core is for things like cluster headaches and migraines. But it's super interesting. In functional medicine, a lot of times for trauma therapy and stress and anxiety, they'll do a stellate ganglion nerve block of the vagus nerve, meaning they literally will use like ultrasound guided imaging and go in to the right side of the neck and typically inject very near the vagal nerve, something like exosomes or a fluid. And then they'll go and do the same thing on the left side. And obviously you'd want someone who's highly trained to do this because like you're right next to the carotid artery and Anyways, I had my first stellate ganglion nerve block done by Dr. Matt Cook a couple of weeks ago, and it's very interesting. You have it done, and immediately the entire body goes into Zen mode. I mean, I sat up from the table, and I felt like I'd smoked a couple of joints, and it was just like total pure relaxation. You could have freaking come in there and insulted my mom, and I just would have sat there and smiled. It's and nowhere like the vagal nerve stimulators work, but I'd never had anything like that, like a nerve block that just completely almost like reboots the vagal nerve and the nervous system and some of these cranial nerves. It was pretty crazy. I don't know if you've ever looked into one of those, but if you haven't, it'd be cool to have you experience.
I haven't, but I have played around with a Pulsetto, and in fact, the Pulsetto guys are going to be at the conference in June. But in terms of fitness devices, actually, there's actually one device that I really want to bring up, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it yet, but it's called the Human Regenerator.
No,
have you
tell
heard
me about
of this
it.
thing yet? Oh man,
it's a great name.
Yeah, it's incredible. So it's basically, they call it health furniture or equivalent, and it's a bed. It looks like white, shiny, very luxurious. It's aimed for like the ultra wealthy gyms and clubs in Monaco and things like this.
Okay.
Quite a lot of the big tech founders and CEOs have got it. It delivers electrons, free electrons, negative ions, and anions. Basically, when you're lying down on a bed for 30 minutes, it produces, the byproduct is mild ozone, so you can just about smell it when you're on the device. I would say it's recharging your mitochondria, recharging every cell in your body. Now, apparently it gives off, I think they said 30,000 volts in almost like a sphere around you when you're lying on the bed. And in a 30-minute session, it basically is like having sunlight and grounding all in one go, charging your cells within this.
That's I'm gonna have to try it when I'm. So will that be on the expo floor? If people want to try it.
Oh yes.
Dude.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm check it out. It sounds very interesting. You look at a lot of these multimodal strategies. Like the biocharger, for example, that you stand in front of and it does infrared light and electromagnetic frequencies and right frequencies and negative ions. Or there's this new institute out in Lexington, Kentucky. I interviewed the guy, Dr. Jeremy Stitch. They developed this thing called the Amortal Catalyst, which is a device that sweeps the entire body with PEMF. But then they have like this $150,000 bed. I think there's only like one right now that's actually been made. It's in Denver, and it does hydrogen therapy, ozone, sound therapy, PEMF, infrared light, like everything you'd want to do as far as like a fringe, recovery or cellular enhancement modality all at once. There's like that HOCAT device, which is kind of similar, which is like ozone plus PEMF that you sit inside. And, I don't know your thoughts on this, Tim, but it's very difficult with some of these strategies that you're doing all at once to say that there's any human clinical research behind them, because this stuff's very difficult to study. And I know there's probably several scientists just snickering about these two, crazy biohackers experimenting with all these fringe modalities. But from an anecdotal standpoint, I can tell you a lot of these like multimodal beds or devices, I think they're just like electrical medicine that you can have at home.
Well, the funny thing is this is where the Human Regenerator comes in, where science is backing it. It's called cold atmospheric plasma, and that's not plasma in terms of the blood. And it's basically anioned gas. And it's used in a healing modality in a small focal, like for instance, post-surgery and things like that. But what these guys have done have actually put it onto a whole body scale. So it's completely and utterly, like if you look at NIH PubMed site and look at cold atmospheric plasma and the applications and the implications for it to, speed up the mitochondria and fix multiple health issues, some of the more serious ones, which I will not mention, it's fantastic. And these guys have just opened it up to be a full body application opposed to focal little area. So when I first heard about it, I was like, big claim. I think it's going to be rubbish, but why not? And they said, come out and see us. Come and see the factory in Germany. We'll give you a demo of it. We'll run through all of the science. We'll show you everything. And it's like, I tried it. I was like, dude, this is amazing.
Wow.
It's actually one of the best modalities I think I've used. And I think if you combine the human regenerator, and this isn't an ad for them, by the way, I absolutely love it. And they've just opened a clinic in London, a showroom in London. So I'm going to be using it weekly from here on in. But if you use the human regenerator to recharge your mitochondria, you have ozone IV to kill off any viruses and support your all of the things you get from the city or toxicities and things. And then the new one that I am pairing with that is actually blood filtering. And
you mean like plasmapheresis?
Yeah. So basically, they take your blood out, they separate off the plasma, they filter it. You see what it's collected, i.e., microplastics and things, and then they put it back in. So I've been having that in Austria. And I think with the ozone, with the filtering, and the human regenerator, I think you pretty much got charging and detoxification all wrapped up into 3 modalities. And this is my superhuman stack right now.